Yeah, this week was beyond insane. This week was wild. There's just so much. There's so much. There's so much. Because what in the entire hell? Hey y'all, I'm Kimberlyn, and this is the Frolicking Truth, a soft space for Black women who are tired, brilliant, and ready to heal. Here, joy meets justice. We calm our Black ass nervous systems, we unmask, and we leave behind whatever that is trying to kill us. You're seen here, you're safe here, and you don't have to do this alone. So quick show and tell. This is my sound bowl that I bought when I lived in Mexico. I believe I got it in, oh, I'm a lie. I don't know where. It was one of they call them magical towns that they have in, oh, I'm supposed to be showing you all, sorry. They call them magical towns that they have in Mexico around the country, and like they're magical for different reasons. It might be their city square, or it might be um a special hot spring that they have there, but for different reasons, they're considered these magical towns, right? And so I was in one of them, I don't remember which one, and I wanted to get a sound bowl because I believe in energy and sound healing and frequencies and all of that. And I had started getting into understanding that more, but also a lot of the sound bowls are gigantic, right? And I cannot put that in my suitcase. So when I saw this mini sound bowl, I was like, oh my God, that's coming with me. So it comes in this cute little box that keeps it safe. Let me actually take my time in taking this out. And then it has a little wooden wand, and then some markings. Also, don't know what that means. And I also realize that people could be like, it could be saying all kind of stuff. Relax. I don't believe that it does. But anyway, so it's black and it's gold, and I love it so much. And a lot of times I forget that I have it because my brain be doing a lot. But over this week, I found myself going to my sound bowl very frequently because it was a lot this week, and it helped to clear my mind. So before I do all the intros and things, I'm going to go ahead and ring it. You probably won't be able to hear it though, because I feel like the mic is noise canceling. But in post production, I'm going to put a sound in here. But for those of y'all who are hearing me now, you might not hear it. So just imagine in your mind. Okay. All right. One more time. Okay. So I wanted to do that before we get started because I have to center myself in things. So anyway, hey, y'all. What's up? Get on in here and come and sit down because we have a lot that we need to talk about. This is episode 36 of the Frolicking Truth podcast for Black women who are tired, brilliant, and ready to heal, where joy meets justice and nervous systems get free. It is okay if you don't identify with any of those descriptors. It just means that when you come ready to listen, ready to learn, and ready to support. My name is Kimberland, and I am the host of this here podcast and also the founder of Minding My Black Ass Business, which is the network that this podcast sits on. And yeah, we got a lot to get into. If this is your first time here, I'm gonna go ahead and apologize. I'm gonna try to stick to the format, but also, child, it's been a week. Okay, so for history and documentation's sake, today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. I have really decided that I need to use this as my diary of Kimberly Jackson as opposed to the diary of Anne Frank. Because there's so much going on in the world right now, and it's important for us to be uh, documenting what is happening and documenting our perspective and documenting all the things. Okay. So, having said that, I have probably said about 17 times already that this week was a lot, and I really want to kind of get more into that. This is the part of the podcast that is called the Auntie Check In. And this is where I talk about what is happening in my personal life and kind of give y'all some insight into how I am showing up in the world. And I'll start off with the Raina update with the high. So I wet Raina this morning because she was a little dry because it's been a rough week. And I like this bounce back game though because it was just a little water, literally, and she's back and popping. So I'm excited about that and appreciative that Raina was willing to cooperate today. I woke up on time this morning, but also still dragging at the same time. A couple episodes ago, I talked about feeling like I live in this real life severance. Still, very much still, and more so. Um, and this week, the switches wasn't operating so well. Like I wasn't really able to switch on the switch and be like, all right, let's go into the work container. Like it was a lot. So for context, I'm about to have a birthday and I don't necessarily get excited about birthdays per se. Like I appreciate that it's my birthday and I'd be like, yay, it's my birthday. But also, I'm not like a big party person or anything like that. And honestly, this is why. My birthday is on Valentine's Day. And while I have decided that God did that with intention because I am just bursting with love and I try to put as much love out here into the world as possible. Um, my birthday is also a very interesting time because I don't like have birthday celebration on my birthday because people are always busy. And so historically in my life, I just either have to be with somebody, so that's my birthday date, or I just don't do anything on my birthday and it just be me. So in processing what I want that to look like for this year, I came up empty. I don't really have anything at all. That it's weird. It's weird because I feel like 45 is a like milestone birthday or whatever, but I don't necessarily have milestone things in my brain that are going on. So it just feels weird. Like I know it's coming. It's like, yeah, it's my birthday, but then also at the same time, it very much is just like it's my birthday. um, so the comment here says, I want to highlight this with intention. It says, yay, presents, cake, and chocolate hearts score. I don't like chocolate like that. Chocolate does not bring me joy like that. And it's because my birthday is on Valentine's Day. So historically, people go down to the Walgreens or they go down to the CVS or they go down to Walmart or wherever you get your Valentine's things and they bring me this big box of assorted chocolates that's filled. I also don't like chocolate that's filled with stuff. Like when you bite chocolate and stuff comes out. Yuck, hate it, right? And so I don't I when I was a teacher, I book so because I don't because people be busy on my birthday. I always work on my birthday because that's where the people are at work, right? Or my students or whatever. So when I was in the classroom, I would do a birthday countdown because the kids always wanted to make it a big deal and they would do performances and it was so much fun. But anyway, I would write on the board, I do not like chocolate, underlined. So if you bring me chocolate, I know that you didn't do that for me because I don't like chocolate at all. Like the only chocolate that I historically eat is Snickers, and I haven't even had Snickers in months, like probably about 6 months. So I don't like them. I don't like them. And it was always the way that I could tell if somebody was actually gifting me or if they were doing something to make themselves feel better because they felt like they bought a gift. Like, but you're not doing that for me because I do not like. Um, but anyways, so I think that's also why I ran away from red for a long time because again, it's Valentine's Day, so of course you like red, right? It's Valentine's Day. No, I mean it's cool, but also not my favorite color. My favorite color is yellow. Anyway, enough of that. But what I did do is I created a birthday list, a birthday gift list on Amazon. If anybody is saying, like, oh my gosh, I want to bless you for your birthday. So I'll put the link up here. It's tinyurl.com/Kimberland birthday 2026. You can see the things that I have on my list. And there are things like incense and essential oils and I don't have this on the list, but this is something I would love. Plants. Because I tried to put this here. I tried to put a plant back here to balance out the set. Wah, wah, wah. My little baby plant is not doing a good job next to this tree. So I really just need to get another tree. But we gonna let sis, this is Jade back here. She's been here with me for a while. But yeah, we gonna find another spot for Jade because she's not really sitting in all of her glory right now. You know, it's just anyway. Plants is something that would be on my list. And that's another thing. Valentine's Day, people often give roses. I don't like roses. I don't, my favorite flower is the sunflower, right? But also tulips. But also, I don't like flowers. I don't want to receive flowers because flowers feels like work. Now I have to find something to put it in. I have to change the water. I have to like then once it gets yucky, now I gotta throw it away and give her like I that doesn't feel like a gift to me. I would prefer a plant. Us flowers die, they be dead. So I would prefer a plant that is living, that can continue to be here and thrive and oxygenate the earth, right? But anyway, so I said all that to say for anybody who is thinking about gifting somebody, because my birthday is on Valentine's Day and people be gifting their significant others on Valentine's Day. Give them people what they actually want. Give them what they actually want. And if you can't give them what they actually want, find a creative way to give somebody what they actually want. Right. It is so insulting for someone to give you something that you're not going to even do anything with, or you don't even like it, or like it's clear that they just did that for them because you didn't do that for me. It wasn't even personalized, right? And this is why giving gifts and the love language of gifts is at the bottom of my list. It does not really do a lot for me unless it is something that thought has gone into. But just get, and I don't be having things like that. Like I'm not a collector of things. Make sure that when you are gifting somebody that you are actually doing it with the intention for them to enjoy the gift. And if you're not, don't. Just don't. Do something else. Do something else. Okay. So that was my public service announcement, all wrapped up in my birthday is coming up. And so in my week, I'm also knowing that my birthday is coming up, but then I'm also like, I want to care, but also there's so much that's going on. Like, do I even really, what the hell, right? So that was going on. Then I also had to do the next step in the asylum process, which is something else I talk about on the Patreon and not here publicly about what that process has looked like. But I have stated publicly that I have been in the process of filing for asylum from the United States of America. And I had to do another step in that this week, and that always comes with a lot of stress as well. And there was a lot that was surrounding that. The day before I had to do that in the United States, they gunning down white folk. So I'm gonna get back more into that in a little bit. But like that, that was a sign of escalation that I don't know that many of us are paying attention to. Editing me jumping in to provide some additional context of things that have happened since I recorded this. So, for context, it's Friday, January 30th, and just this morning we received word that Don Lemon, a former CNN journalist, was arrested due to his coverage of a protest that happened at a Minnesota church. There was another black journalist named Georgia Fort who was also arrested along with a couple others. Arresting journalists who are doing their job of reporting what is actually happening in the country is an escalation and a tactic that is used by countries like Israel to suppress the truth. We really have to take these things very seriously and understand that all media outlets have been compromised. I sent out some messages to people that I care about, and I was just kind of like, hey, how are you processing what's happening? You know, what is that looking like and sounding like? I got a variety of responses, and some of those responses were like complete, I have no idea what you're even talking about, to I saw something in passing, to I can't even much worry about that because I need to worry about me and mine, to that ain't got nothing to do with me, to yeah, shit really is falling apart. And what it did in my brain is cause this sense of like, so it was kind of like a pending crash out a little bit. Cause like, what do you mean you don't, what? You don't know. You don't understand. You don't, what? What do you mean? Right. Then there was also um a grief, like a really, 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 really heavy grief that sat on my heart in accepting that I have done what I'm supposed to do, and they just gonna have to live through it because I've been talking about this literally since 2020. There was a live that I did in 2020, and I was talking, it was during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, the height of in Minnesota about George Floyd. Um, and I was talking to people about preparing, and I was like, we have to understand what our role is in this fight and in this revolution. And one, to realize people don't even know it's a revolution in real life civil war going on outside because it's not literally outside their door and people are like shutting that off. That's wild in itself, but I get it, but also wild. But then I've been asking us to get connected and understand what we're supposed to be doing when shit hits the fan, and now shit is hitting the fan and we still don't know what we're doing. So then I was like, have I done enough? I don't, maybe I need to say something different. Maybe I need to put it a different way. Maybe I need to change my message. Like, have I done enough? And one of the people that I checked in with, I was sharing this with her, and she was like, because I told her, I said, it just never feels like enough. It never feels like I have done enough, said enough, documented enough, talked about enough, made it plain enough. Like, because this is existential crisis time. Like, there's shit is literally hitting the fan. And so she was like, you've done more than enough. She said, you showed us how to first save ourselves. You have left a literal roadmap behind for how to do that. You have literally helped people leave the US to get to safety. You have showed us how to make a decision to heal yourself and to prioritize your wellness. You have then created spaces for us to be able to do that as well. She's like, you have developed an entire program to help people understand their gifts and their callings in this fight. You've done more than enough. And I needed to hear that so bad at that moment, because it just doesn't feel like enough. And so I really had a difficult time processing things this week, to the point that my brain was just like consistent glitch. Like, there's like just glitching all over the place. Um and because of that, I missed an important deadline on something. Like, it's just I just was like, at one point I said, I don't have capacity to do anything right now but to keep myself alive. Like, I don't have capacity to do anything. Like, this is really crazy. So that was a lie. That was a lie this week. And then to add to the further glitching is what is making other people feel outraged. Because again, I've been talking about, we need to get ready. We need to understand what our role is. Like, everybody's role is not to be on the front lines of a protest. That's not where everybody's supposed to be. And let me just pause here and also say, you, and I've said this before on one of these here episodes. If you are not properly trained to be at a protest, you are a liability, because you need to have certain equipment, especially the type of protests. And I don't even want to call them protests. I want to call them resistance. That's what I want to call them. The type of resistance movement that is happening in Minnesota, that is rising up against an active militarized force that is murdering people in the streets. You cannot just casually walk out there and think that you're about to be effective, because now people have to make sure that you're okay, that you know what to do in these situations. And so, having said that, everybody's role is not on the front lines of the protest. We need people like myself, who I live outside of the country. So I am able to speak differently about what is happening, in a way that does not encounter the same type of risk as someone who is in the US. So let me just pause here for a second, because I want to see if I can show you all this video that I made that I have not posted, because I just haven't. These were my thoughts as I have been trying to process what is going on. So let's watch this. I had to clear out a significant amount of storage on my phone, because I knew that I was going to need space to have to say something. I don't even really know where to start, and I'm having a really, really difficult time finding coherent words and thoughts and all of that. But I think the thing that's at the top of my brain is the level of detachment and lack of awareness and denial and inability to accept what is actually happening and then moving into action. It's a lot. It's a lot to watch. And I feel like I've been trying to guide us gently over the past, really since I left, but definitely vocally since 2022. That's a lie. I was talking about it before then. Time's irrelevant. I've been talking about this for a long time, and I feel like I've been trying to gently prepare us and like, hey, we're gonna need to get ready and like do things. And when I say things, I mean I'm gonna have to go repost it. There's a video, a live that I did back in 2020 in the height of Black Lives Matter. And I was talking to people about activism and advocacy, and I said, everybody has a role in this fight, and everybody's role in the fight is different. And our job is to figure out what our role is in this fight so that we can be prepared to hold the peace that we hold, right? Also, I live in the city again, so city noise. But during that live, I was talking about Discover Your Destiny, and I was talking about just the different ways that we need to show up, right? Everybody is not meant to be on the front lines of a protest. Everybody is not meant to be the ones who are armed with gas masks and kicking canisters and lighting dumpsters on fire. Shout out to Minneapolis, yo. They ain't going for that shit. And we need more of that. But instead, what's happening, I'm going to get back to Rose. What's happening is that people are saying, oh, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's an immigrant issue. That's a Minneapolis issue. That ain't got shit to do with me. It's about me and mine. And I get that because there is an acute sense of protecting oneself. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to protect ourselves and our family. What is missing from that, though, is the actual acceptance of what is happening. Okay? So I'm going to come back to that, back to the roles. Everybody's role is not to be on the front lines of the protest. Some people's role is to be on camera. So, for instance, the role that I have taken, because I live outside the country, I have more freedom to speak freely. I also have access to different information. I don't know if you all know or have recognized that TikTok has been purchased by a billionaire who owns a company named Oracle. They are purchasing all of the media outlets so they can control the type of information that people are able to get in the U.S. So it is now illegal on TikTok to talk about ICE, to talk about immigration, to talk about the regime that is currently occupying the White House. Because I sit in a place where I'm not inside the country, I am using my platform to vocally record and talk about these things and also to build awareness, right? That is needed within the resistance. There are people who are going to need to open home daycares for children. Our kids are not safe in these schools. I don't know how long I've been saying this for a long time. We're going to have to take our children out of these people's schools. It's not safe. And because of that, that means that we're going to need to have homeschool cells or places where the children are able to go so they can receive education. If you think about what the Black Panther Party did, that's exactly how they were organizing. They had a free breakfast program. They had a place for the kids to go so the kids were able to receive instruction in a safe environment. It's all a part of the movement. And so what's happening is in our wanting to protect ourselves and wanting to insulate, we are also neglecting the fact that shit is actually happening right now. So let me contextualize that. Right before I came on here, I just saw a post that said they've approved for ICE to be at the Super Bowl. Now, this is the thing. We know that Super Bowl tickets cost a bajillion dollars, literally. I want to say Kevin on Stage posted a picture the other day, and it was like the cheapest might have been 15,000, and the most expensive was like 200,000 for tickets to the Super Bowl. Can't nobody afford that shit besides companies and people that have access, right? So what happens is a lot of times people are gifted tickets to go to the Super Bowl because of XYZ, whatever situation. A lot of times those are people who are less advantaged, right? And sometimes those are people that do not look according to how ICE is saying that you have to look American. So now those people, they don't get to go. Even if they had the opportunity, you don't get to have that because you look like you might not belong here, right? Furthermore, for everybody else, now you have to justify that you are an American citizen. While you may have the quote unquote paperwork to prove that you are an American citizen, that also doesn't matter because they're still locking up American citizens. They're still killing American citizens in the streets. And so things are escalating, and things are escalating quickly. And they are escalating the types of tactics that they are using in order to discourage people from tapping in. And when I say tap in, that means that, hey, it's active war happening outside. So how do I conduct myself in that manner? One, how do I walk into spaces understanding this is an active war zone and it could present itself at any time? It's like walking around with sleeper cells and you just never know when that cell might be activated. You have to be walking around with that type of understanding. The other thing is, how am I protecting myself? How am I ensuring that I have community? How am I sharing my emergency contact information with my neighbors? Like, do I know my neighbors? Like, what is going to happen when they show up at my door for me to prove that I am a quote unquote American citizen, but also that still doesn't matter. Don't have an accent. Don't be black. Don't be brown. Don't be anything that does not, quote unquote, look American. What does that even fucking mean? Because America's supposed to be this big melting pot, right? Bull fucking shit. My goal is for us to recognize it's not just business as usual. How am I having conversations with the people in my circles? How am I talking to my children about what is happening? How am I preparing my young adults who are going into the workforce for what is happening? What are the actual conversations that we are having rooted in the fact and actuality of an active resistance? Sorry, y'all. My mic came unplugged, so bear with me with the sound. It does get better, I promise.
So those were my raw thoughts during that time as everything was happening, right? And I said to myself, I really need to get this out because it felt like my brain was going to just explode. Because more than anything, I want us to be prepared and I want us to take our heads out of the sand and practice radical acceptance. Having said that, I also have a deep understanding for the infrastructure, if you will, that we need to put in place to be able to accept the reality of what is happening. And for many people, it is a coping mechanism to say everything's fine. Everything is absolutely fine and it's fine. Bianca used to have this picture of this dog sitting in this room where everything's on fire that she would use during her shows. And it's literally everything is on fire. And the dog is like, it's fine. Everything's totally fine. Everything's fine.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay. Things are going to be okay.
And everything is not fine. And we have to accept that and then work on doing the stabilization work that we need to do to be able to shift ourselves into a space of action and understanding. And when I say action, that action does not mean that you go and run out to a protest. That action might mean that you start actively minimizing and shift from a mindset of, oh, I'm just going out and balling out and buying things to let me actually make sure that we have food on hand. Let me make sure that I have my important documents like a passport, a birth certificate, like all of that kind of stuff. Let me actively make sure that I'm having conversations with my loved ones about, okay, so when shit hits the fan, what are we going to do? Whose house are we going to go to? How are we going to communicate, right? Like these are things that we can actively be working on in the background and preparing ourselves for what is really happening. And simultaneously be making sure that we have routines in place that help us to stabilize ourselves. So as I'm having this like these mini crash out moments when all of this stuff is happening, I'm also like saying to myself, like, Kim, you have to stabilize yourself. Like you have to stabilize yourself. And one of the ways that I do that is just shutting everything out because it felt like shit was coming from every direction all at the same time. It was just like and nervous system, no, we can't do any of this, right? So I wound up turning off my phone for a little bit, just really trying to move the energy through my body. So the first thing that I did is I blew some bubbles because I realized I was not breathing and I was holding so much energy inside my body. So I did blow some bubbles. That did not fully help. Then I pushed a wall for a little bit. So these are somatic exercises that a trauma therapist that I worked with shared with me, but when I was having a really difficult time with the bathroom. And so pushing a wall helps you to be able to move the stuck energy through your body as opposed to just allowing it to sit and fester. The other thing, I had bought a jump rope a while ago and I lost it. I don't know where it's at. And I've been looking for it. I don't even have a lot of things like that. So I don't know where it is. But anyway, I couldn't find my jump rope. So I just jumped up and down a whole bunch of times. And that helped because it really made it like it's a grounding every time that you land. And it allowed that stuck energy to get out of my body. So I did a lot of that over this past week as I've been trying to process what is going on. It's I guess it is stemming, I guess, in some ways for those of us who are neurodivergent, but it really was just an opportunity to tend to myself. Like this is the type of self care that's not bubble baths and manicures. This is the type of self care like I'm finna full on crash out and I cannot afford to do that. So let me figure out how to help myself. And so I had to go back to the basics. I had to go back to the basics of like, did I drink water today? Did I eat something today? And thankfully, I have people in my life who are willing to support me and reminding me to do that because I do have one of those types of brains that when it gets overwhelmed, honey, it takes 3 days to die from not having water. It takes 3 weeks to die from not having food. Okay. And this is where my biology degree is both an advantage and disadvantage because I very easily be saying to myself, hey, today, no. Tomorrow, we'll try again. We got 3 days before it becomes critical. And gratefully, I was able to kind of move out of that space to kind of get myself unstuck and into a better state of mind. But this week was really, really difficult. This was a really, 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 really tough week for me. No, I don't know what February is about to have in store. I really don't. Historically, February for me is a time where there are a lot of blessings. It's 12/12 right now. February, I don't know. I don't know what it holds. And I am literally just trying to remind myself that I made the decision to tap that in. Like, hey, my boy, you gonna have to have it from here, my boy, because I ain't got it. Like, I really don't. I really ain't got it. And so I've decided to really focus on those routines and things that are going to help me to stay stabilized because I can only control so much. The comment says self care is easy when things are good, but it's necessary when they aren't so good. Yeah. And that's why this is something that we could be actively doing because needing to be able to stabilize ourselves is going to be necessary over the next 5 to 10 years or however long this revolution is happening. I don't know if y'all have ever seen Enemy of the State. Y'all tell me in the comments if you've ever seen Enemy of the State. It is always, it has always been a movie that I took very seriously. Okay. Enemy of the State is with Will Smith and is it Regina King? I think is his wife. But basically, it's about the government surveilling a citizen and going through all these links to get this chip back so they like are surveilling the citizen. And like I said, I've always taken it very seriously. And in Enemy of the State, there is a character named Brill and Brill lives underground, right? So Brill has carved out this world of like the only way that you could get to Brill is like marking on a mailbox. And then you got to take a ferry somewhere, and then you got to take a train, and then you got to do like something else. Y'all remember in the comments. So Brill was like the person who had the infrastructure for what Will Smith's character needed to do to be able to keep himself safe from the government. That's who Lewis is to me. Okay. So there are certain people that have met him and know that he's a real life person. There are many people who don't think that he's real because they've never met him or they've never seen pictures of him or any of that. But anyway, that's Brill. So I had to have a conversation with Brill about hey, what we need to do. And we decided to let go of all of the world things that are happening and really talk about the routines. So we were having a conversation about tea and matcha and supplements and like making sure that we have the thing vitamin D and vitamin D. Okay, because it's necessary. So, like, getting as much sun as possible, and like what that looks like to kind of get our bodies into the type of shape that we need it to be in so that we are ready for whatever is about to happen. And I was sharing with him, I had found this picture of myself from when I lived in Playa del Carmen. So when I first left the US in October of 2021, the first place that I landed was Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I lived in Playa del Carmen for, I want to say 2 months, and then I moved to Mexico City. But while I was there, I've talked about this before. I did this fast. It wasn't, I don't want to call it a fast because it wasn't. It was a cleanse. It was a raw vegan cleanse that I did with Nzinga Oniwosan. And I talked about in one of the episodes, one of the last episodes last year, where I had felt like I got a lot of mental clarity through the time of doing this cleanse. But also, I found the picture of what I looked like during this plan. So I want to bring it up here to show y'all. So this was October of 2021. And I was so like inflamed and swollen and just it's weird when I look at myself now and I look at the condition of my body now. I know at this time I was pre-diabetic and had high cholesterol, and just size wise, I was in a 2X. I weighed 225 pounds at this time. And mind you, I'm 5'3", okay, on my tallest days. And so it was a lot. Like it was just a lot on my body. And I didn't realize at the time how bad it was. Yeah, the chef said, "What? That's you? No way." Yeah. But what I realized is that a lot of that weight retention really had to do with stress and not having food that had not been tampered with, honestly. So leaving the US allowed me to kind of deal with the stress part of it as far as like the acute everyday stress, but the other part was really changing my eating habits. So anyway, so Lewis and I were talking about that, and I was telling him I had just come across that picture, and he was pivotal in helping me to think about like what some of these practices look like, because there was a time when I had first left Florida that I lived with him in Boston, and he was like, every morning we're waking up and we're doing Master Tonic and we're taking our supplements and we're like doing the things, oregano oil and like all of this stuff. And so we had a really long conversation about that, and it helped me to feel more grounded, because these are things that are within my control, that I am able to put systems in place to be able to help myself to feel better, so that I am able to show up in the ways that people need me to show up in order to be present for this revolution. So that was a lot. And I know that was kind of all over the place with the different things, but I felt like it was really important to be honest about when the days are not well. I think that I do not expect from people that they show up well every day. I don't. And those of you that have had conversations with me, whether that be in a DM, on Zoom, in real life, I don't ask that of you, because I know what it feels like to not be able to do that, right? So I'm grateful that I'm able to say, hey, I'm not well and I need this. And I'm grateful that I'm brave enough to be transparent enough to be able to say publicly that everything is not okay. And just because you are an activist or you're a revolutionary or you're somebody who has empathy, and especially because you're somebody who has empathy, there are going to be days where you're like, crashing out, not able to do this. Don't, hey, no, I ain't got it today. And I think it's really, really important for us to be transparent about that, one, and honest with ourselves about that, because the world requires us to mask and to pretend like everything is fine. That's what masking means. Masking means that you are holding everything inside so that your outward presentation is like everything's fine, even though it's not. That's where toxic positivity lives. That's where people who are like, I just got to push through. All of that is counterintuitive to what our body actually wants to do and needs to do in order to process the types of traumas that we are experiencing every single day as we live on this planet right now. And especially if you're living in the US, it's literally just in the water. It is the water, it is the air, it is the US. So, I try to be, transparent as I can so that you all are able to also feel brave enough to be able to be as transparent as you can about what you are experiencing in your life. So, having said that, please do share what your experiences are in the comments, and please do honor what you are feeling, because you don't have to pretend that everything is okay. All right. I do want to do a few quick announcements before I move into frolicking in the feed. So the first thing is to quickly do our subscriber update. And so we are currently at 1,581 subscribers. So shout out. to our new subscribers and the folks who are joining us here in the Mind of My Black Ass Business universe. Please do introduce yourself, leave a comment, and say hi. Excited to have you here. Also, want to plug that you can connect with us more deeply in the archive. That is the Patreon for the Mind of My Black Ass Business universe. And we have a whole bunch of different collections in there, including the Inner Circle, which is my particular branch of the archive. But I also want to highlight the change corridor because it's a lot of stuff that I'm about to have to be putting in there to make sure that we are in the know about what we need to do and how we need to present ourselves. I'm not going to be sharing that stuff publicly. Okay. So it's $5 a month for you to be a part of the archive and to get that type of information and to also get the community. If you can't afford the $5 a month, that's okay. You can still be a part of the free archive. And that way, you'll still get the free information that is put out. You'll still get notifications, even if they're locked. All right. So I just want you to get connected. So, should the time arise where you like, I got $5 this month, you can get on in here and get this information so that you're able to stay safe with you and your peoples. All right. So, please do honor that. The next session of the Healing Circle. So, again, the Healing Circle is one of the spaces that I have carved out to help us to be able to connect back to our breath, connect back to our bodies, because we do have to be able to do that in order to be successful in this next season that we have coming up. So, the next Healing Circle is taking place on Saturday, February 14th. That is my birthday. It is going to be at 10:30 Eastern. And so, if you are a Black woman who wants to connect back to your body and breath, I would like for you to join me because that is my birthday, and I would like for you to give that present to yourself as well as to me by sharing with me in the Healing Circle. Immediately after the Healing Circle on Saturday, February 14th, the Frolicking Truth will air. So the Frolicking Truth birthday episode will air at noon on Saturday, February 14th. Okay. So you can register for that at tinyurl.com/Black Women Healing Circle, tinyurl.com/Black Women Healing Circle. The last thing I want to highlight is the Sisterhood Heals book study, which is a place where us as Black women, as sisters, where we can really heal our relationship with sisterhood and really explore what that looks like and sounds like. So that is going to be happening later on this year, probably March or April. So if you're interested, please go to tinyurl.com/sisterhood heals. Remembering that Sisterhood Heals is the book that was written by Dr. Joy Harden Bradford, who is the founder of Therapy for Black Girls. So we will be getting into that. All right. Okay. So I want to get into Frolicking in the Feed. And Frolicking in the Feed is the part of this podcast. So we talk about things that are happening out here in this world that we may have come across as we out here scrolling. Right now, I already told you it was a lot. It was a lot out here with the scrolls and all the things that's happening. But I was watching one of my favorite podcasts, which is something else that I do for self-care. It is Kevin on Stage and That Chick Angels podcast called Here's the Thing. And I really appreciate Kevin on Stage, Kevin Fredericks. I talk about him often. Like, I really just appreciate the way that he moves about the world and the way that he carves out space for other creators. It is something I, strive to do here at Mind of My Black Ass Business, is to amplify creators and introduce them to the community. And then y'all go follow them and then y'all be connected to them. And like, I just love it. That is one of the dreams that I have. So anyway, this week on Here's the Thing, they shared a story that I had not heard about because I really don't be deep on the internet like that, right? And then I was like, this is really wild. So they shared this story. So I'm going to share the article first, and then I'm going to show you the picture of the things that are happening. All right. So this article was written on January 20th, 2026. And the headline states LeBron James flamed for having a $200 Nike MLK shoe. The shoe was released on the Martin Luther King holiday. So I'm going to read through some of this. In the days following Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Nike and LeBron James found themselves in the uncomfortable glare of public scrutiny. What was intended as a tribute instead ignited a fierce backlash, with critics across social media calling the release tone deaf and tasteless. At the center of the controversy is the LeBron 23 Honor the King, a sneaker whose teal color draws inspiration from the iconic signage of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, the site where Dr. King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. The shoe features the word equality stitched into the heel and is one of 23 colorways Nike plans to release to commemorate moments throughout James's 23-year NBA career. According to Nike, this particular edition was meant to honor LeBron's 51-point performance against the Memphis Grizzlies on MLK Day in 2008. But for many, the historical symbolism overshadowed the athletic achievement. As New York Times writer Sandra E. Garcia noted, the assassination represents a painful chapter in the history of the city, one long darkened by a shadow of shame over its role in a national tragedy. The Lorraine Motel itself reopened in 1991 as the National Civil Rights Museum. And according to Garcia's reporting, museum officials were unaware of the sneaker until just days before the controversy erupted. I'm curious about what y'all think about this. So you will have to, of course, tell me in the comments what you think it feels. So the question here from Let's Talk Sis says, wait, it was made to honor his assassination? That's what they're saying. To honor Dr. King's assassination that happened at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, okay, and to commemorate in 2008 when LeBron James had a really good game against the Memphis Grizzlies basketball team. That's why they're saying that they had did it. So when they talked about this on the episode, oh, let me show y'all a picture of the shoes. Hold on. Let me show y'all the picture of the shoes and let me show y'all a picture of the inspiration, which is the Lorraine Motel. Hold on. So this is the picture of the Lorraine Motel. Okay. And as you can see, there is a teal that is present. The doors on the Lorraine Motel are teal. So teal is one of the main colors that is present at the Lorraine Motel. So again, I reiterate, the Lorraine Motel is in Memphis, Tennessee. I actually visited the Lorraine Motel my junior year in high school for the 30th commemoration of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. So we went to the hotel, we went around Memphis, we went to the church that he gave his last speech at. It was very impactful. And we also participated in a march for the 30th anniversary. Let me show y'all the shoe. So the shoe is pearlized. And if you're just listening to this, you got to come over to YouTube so you can see or look it up. So the shoe is pearlized at the bottom. Is very much giving me. Now I'm not a sneakerhead, so I don't really know shoes like that for real. But it's very much giving me like the way that Jordans, when they had the patent leather situation at the bottom, is very much giving that patent leather situation with a pearlized teal type thing. And then it has a lace overlay, okay, a teal lace overlay that is at the top of the shoe, okay, with some gold accents. Okay, tomatoes, tomatoes, says the chat. So that is the shoe. Okay, now in the comments while this was happening, so I'm watching Kevin Stage's, I'm in the Patreon, so I'm during the live recording, right? Just like the folks here with me today. So we're in the comments like, you couldn't find nothing else to do. Like, this is silly. And for LeBron to have his name attached to this is like really, really wild because why would you think that this is commemorative?
Let me interject here and read Nike's official position. It says here, but a Nike spokesperson said that it was perhaps to be expected. Nike VP Communications John Jauer said, design is so subjective, and some people the design will resonate with, and others maybe less so. And obviously, that becomes a little bit more charged when you have bigger principles at play. He added, the intent, though, was really to pay homage to Dr. King, his life, and his legacy. National Civil Rights Museum President Russell Wigington said that the museum, which is built around the former Lorraine Motel, learned about the shoe a few days ago. Just as everyone else did, Wigington said, we certainly don't mind people recognizing and appreciating the work that we do and what happened here, but we have not been a part of any aspect of that, of the sneaker coming out.
Basically, Nike was like, we putting out the shoe. Like the shoe is out. We're selling the shoe. So it really made me feel like I don't have strong feelings about LeBron James either way, right? I'm not a basketball fan, and I appreciate the things that LeBron James has done in, I think it's Cleveland, in Ohio, wherever his school is. I appreciate the things that he's done there. This is my thing, though, about celebrities and people that have all this money. They care about money. They care about money. And when there are things like this that are going to generate money, money is what is important, not legacy, not the impact that it's going to have on people. It is literally the dollar. And I say that because, and even, hey, y'all finna come for me, and I really don't care. Because even when I look at people like Beyonce, there is no reason for anybody to need to be a billionaire, not a person at all. So if you have accumulated that amount of money, why and what are you doing with it? It's not necessary. It's not necessary for you to be able to live. It's not. Like the way that we can't even conceptualize how much $1 billion is crazy. There are many of us who won't even touch $1 million over our lifetime. A billion is 1,000 million.
The scale of $1 billion is really crazy. So let's say 1 grain of rice is equivalent to 100K, and 10 grains of rice would be then a million. Well, how much is a billion? So my Saturday night consisted of counting 10,000 grains of rice one by one, just to show you guys how much $1 billion is. Of course I filmed it, and of course I time-lapsed it, and this is playing at, I don't even know, God knows how fast it's playing at. But so now I'm proud to present to you the results. That is $1 billion, where each grain of rice is worth 100K. Look how much rice this is, guys. That's crazy. I just bought you like a Lamborghini right here, and I didn't even notice it was gone. Here's a $5 million house in California, and oh look, I still have all this money.
So people like LeBron James or just celebrities who have a lot of money, I already am coming from that standpoint of like, why are you hoarding so much? It's very much hoarder spirit to me. But the other thing is we're gonna see the people that are dedicated to the dollar. That's what we finna see. The people that are dedicated to the dollar. Because there is no possible way that if there were people who gave a damn about Martin Luther King sitting in that room would have said, run it, run it, run it down. So then in the comments, people were like, so we about to start this? So this what we finna do. So they were like, so these are the assassination ones. Then we gonna have the Selma, Alabama 12. We gonna have the Rosewood 13, the Fred Hammonds with a mattress lining. We're gonna have the Malcolm X's and the Tulsa massacres. We're gonna have the Breonna Taylors and the George Floyds and the Tamir Rices and the Trayvon Martins. Like now we're taking assassination. We're turning that into it like this is a joke that y'all thought this was okay. So we're turning this type of pain into a money grab. That's wild. That's really wild. But also, don't be surprised if it starts happening. Don't be surprised that they start turning our pain into opportunities for capitalism, because it is just another way to be able to terrorize us and show us how none of this is taken seriously, like at all. And so I said all that to say I'm very disappointed in LeBron James. While I don't have high expectations for him, I am very disappointed that he is linked to something like this. It is very distasteful, in my opinion, and it really is very insensitive. The real tragedy of how the US government targeted Martin Luther King and how they murdered Martin Luther King, and then how they whitewashed his legacy to make him more palpable and erase all of the things that he was talking about true revolution. When he was assassinated, um, the last movement that he was in the middle of was the Poor People's Campaign, because he realized that, oh, it's capitalism. It's, well, sorry, y'all, my mic fell.
Get thee behind me, whoever didn't want me to say that. But Martin Luther King realized that capitalism is the real enemy, right? He started out very, what is it, nonviolent, very peaceful, like we just need to integrate and ask them for, equal access and all of that. And then he realized, once he started opening that box up, that the bigger thing is, oh, y'all really committed to doing this. And what y'all do is y'all step on the poor people. So then he started to organize sanitation workers and our everyday people that are keeping the world running, and getting them to realize they're using you. So now it wasn't just a black movement, it was a multinational movement. It was white people, it was Asian people, it was immigrants, it was all of the people that are being stepped on in the country. That is why they got rid of Martin Luther King. And so to now be in 2026 and realizing how all of that has been stripped and erased, and our children are not learning that anymore. They're not learning about the realness of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King talked about the white liberal, and he talked about how dangerous the white liberal is, because at the end of the day, they are committed to whiteness over anything. I remember when I moved to Pennsylvania. So I grew up in New Orleans. Let me grab this comment. It says, "Oh man, if someone attacks capitalism, then America makes them disappear." Correct. Correct. Yes, correct. So I forgot what I was about to say just that fast.
A few moments later.
Oh, when I was about to move to Pennsylvania. Okay. But this is what I also want to say. Y'all, this perimenopause brain fog is some bullshit, dog. Like, I real life be in the middle of a sentence, y'all just saw it, and it just goes away. Like, goes away, disappears. What was happening? The thought is gone. That is the other thing that I've been trying to like manage, because you think that, like, it feels like you're crazy. Like, it really feels like you're crazy. And so processing that and keeping in mind, like, girl, you also fighting against perimenopause, it's been a lot. But anyway, this is what I was gonna say. When I moved to Pennsylvania, so I'm from New Orleans. And growing up in New Orleans, I was very familiar with the Ku Klux Klan and David Duke and outright racism, right? So while New Orleans is a black city, it is in the middle of a very, very, very racist state of Louisiana. Okay. And so I had those experiences with overt racism and really understanding how overt racism operates. I always learned in school that the reason why so many Black people left the South and moved up North is because it was so much more progressive in the North, that they didn't have slavery in the North, that abolitionists lived in the North, right? So when I moved to Pennsylvania, I'm moving there thinking to myself, like, it's going to be so much better. And it's not. It's just the difference between overt racism versus covert racism. So overt is out loud in your face. They got the Trump flag. They got they burning crosses on the yard. They got the Confederate flag. Like, you know very clearly that's not a safe person. In Pennsylvania, it's very much covert. So in Pennsylvania, it's very hidden and it's sneaky and it's wrapped in niceties, right? So everything is about being nice as opposed to being honest, right? So people being nice in your face and then they go behind your back and do the real damage while they've been nice in your face. In my opinion, is so much more dangerous because if you're not aware of what's happening, then you're believing that these people actually care, which is what happened to me when I was in Pennsylvania. So right now, with everything that has been happening in Minneapolis, so I do want to intentionally share some names. So Keith Porter Jr. was killed by ICE in California on New Year's Eve. Renee Good killed by ICE in Minneapolis just a couple weeks ago. And Alex Preddy was killed by ICE. Now, Renee Good and Alex Preddy are white people. Okay, so a white woman, LGBTQ, though, because that matters clearly. Preddy was a white man, a nurse, a VA nurse who took care of veterans and soldiers, and very much seemingly nothing but good things have come out about Alex Preddy. And so what happens after these murders is that the US government then goes to the platform pulpit that they have and try to demonize the person. So that's what they did with Renee Good. They said that she tried to run over ICE agents. That's not what happened. And then with Alex Preddy, they said, oh, he ran at us with a gun. He did not. He had a phone, and he also had a concealed weapon that he was licensed to carry. The ICE agents removed that, and then they murdered him in the streets. So after that, there was a letter that was signed, an open letter that was signed by businesses, including Target, that were saying, we need to find a different way. We need to find a way to coexist and, and not be so outright dangerous. So the guy that was over ICE, his name is Bovino. So he lost his job the other day, right? So because all of this outrage has been happening, right? So there's like, well, let me rephrase. He didn't lose his job. He got reassigned because he's retiring soon. And we got to make sure the man keep his retirement, even though he's actively terrorizing people and murdering people in the streets. We got to make sure he keep his retirement, right? So anyway, he was reassigned and now they're putting somebody else in that position. Okay. All right. So they're talking to Governor Tim Walz about all of that.
So you met with Tom Homan today. Did Tom Homan acknowledge the ways in which there had been overreach, the ways in which their tactics and their tenor has been counterproductive?
Said it's not the way to do it.
He did.
I think that was his words. He said, this is not the way to do this. And I think what he acknowledged is, and look, I don't agree with Tom Homan's philosophy on things, but I do understand that he is law enforcement and he understands right and wrong. And he knows, I mean, no matter how much they were trying to gaslight us, the layman on the street said, I don't really think it's good policing to run around and throw canisters and kick people down and things. That's probably not a good idea. He acknowledged that and said something has to change. And then I think what he acknowledged, what we've been saying all along, is they're spreading lies about this. I said, Tom, you got the president believing that you have 14,000 people you had here. And he goes, what? I said, yeah, you didn't arrest 14,000 people. His people are kind of like stammering along and stuff. And he at least acknowledged, look, we got to deal with real numbers. And I said, you said we have 1,400 people in our prisons that are here undocumented. We have 8,000 total people in our prisons. 207 are serving sentences, and they should serve their Minnesota sentences. And what we do is we give them over to you. So talking to him, at least he was grounded in the reality of what the numbers look like. And I just asked him, I said, what's your mission here, Tom? What are you trying to do? We're trying to get folks who shouldn't be in this country and who are dangerous to us out. And, my response would be well, you could probably give me the names of the people who shot my two constituents because those are two people that are dead. So it was a little more grounded in reality. It was an acknowledgement that the situation is not what they want. I have to say it was, it was somewhat of a glimmer of hope that at least it felt like we were dealing on the same reality.
The other side of that, and I hear that, and of course you don't want to be dealing with federal leadership that is calling people domestic terrorists and assassins and slamming local
Calling me
someone who wants this to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wouldn't be a success to have a more professional version of execution of this current policy.
It would not.
And Tom Homan may be on the scale of reasonable, slightly more reasonable than a Bovino, but you still have undertrained, poorly prepared.
Yeah, that Overton window shifted a lot to what we consider to be okay.
Exactly. And so in some ways, Noam being such a buffoon and Miller being out there saying these things only heightened the importance of this issue for people. The policy of mass deportations remains.
Yes.
So if he's saying he wants to get the worst of the worst out, but the White House is setting a goal of 1 million deportations,
that's right.
The math doesn't work.
So basically, what he called for them to do was to end the occupation, right? But then he said we need to find a way to be able to work together, is the messaging that has been coming out. And they've been pushing this messaging about training. And like they need to be better trained. And, that's the issue, is that they're not trained. And what I want y'all to know is that they are trained. They're trained to do exactly what the hell they doing, right? They're trained by Israel, is where they actually got trained from. So it's not about training. Like there is no reformation of this system that's going to make it work okay, because this is how the system was created to operate. So when we have people who are in office who are making excuses about that and saying, I'm gonna give people the benefit of the doubt, or we need to figure out how to work together, and like all of that, that is not helpful, because we don't need to be working together. This needs to end, period, point blank. And so Tim Walz has come under a lot of scrutiny because it seems that he's taking this nice role of y'all stay peaceful now. And, we gonna ask them to stop, nicely, and y'all cut it out, Donald Trump and folks. And we need so much more than that right now.
My hope is with Tom Homan is different from Greg Bovino and these folks on the streets that are just amateurs.
No, we're not doing this again. And I need that to be abundantly clear. We are not doing this cycle again. This is literally a cycle of abuse that the American population is subjected to by the U.S. political establishment, Democrat and Republican. I don't say left and right, because these are both far right parties, and we need to understand that. Okay, there's no functional left within the United States government. That's another long video I'm not going to get into right now. But what we have in power are two fascist parties. It's two flavors of fascism. Both flavors kill you at the same rate, regardless of who is in power. Okay, because there is no opposition to what is happening. There's no real opposition to what is happening, because when it comes down to the bare bones of what the issue is, the issue being that all of our tax money is taken and spent on murderous police forces and genocide and war crimes, when we need it spent on things like healthcare and childcare and transportation and roads and bridges and, just like the basic things of like a developed society, right? When it comes to that issue, there's no daylight there. There's no daylight there. We've just seen 2 people murdered in broad daylight by federal agents. And the response from the Democrats is that they just need better training. Okay? This is not about training. This is not about personnel. This is not about swapping one person out for another. This isn't even really about Donald Trump at the end of the day. This is about a system of violence that has persisted for a very long time and has now reached a point that we can no longer look away. As Black people, we were never able to look away, right? But now it is impossible for anyone to look away because all of the violence that has been exported abroad is coming full circle, is coming back home. And what we see as it comes back home, as it reaches Main Street America, is what? The same lack of response from the Democrats. I have mad respect for the folks in Minnesota. Let me say that first and foremost, okay? And I'm not surprised because I remember. Like, I remember, you know? But the fact is, you have a Democratic governor of the state saying he's going to give the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt to the Trump administration. That's the takeaway. He stands up and he says that he wants to see accountability. Well, has there been an arrest warrant issued? Have either the state or the city issued an arrest warrant? You don't need an investigation before you arrest someone in a situation like this. And if you were serious about the investigation, you would want that person to be arrested and in custody as soon as possible so you can start getting like basic evidence, right? Okay, like I'm going to go back to the abusive family dynamic analogy, right? We are the scapegoats. We're the scapegoats because we are the ones who say what the reality is, right? You've got, again, the Republicans are the drunken father who like stumbles in the house and beats on the kids. And the Democrats act like the mom who kind of looks the other way because what's most important is upholding the image, right? We have to uphold this image that we are a functioning constitutional republic, that we are the beacon of democracy, that we have all of these things, that we're not the savage murderers that we are, right? We have to hold up that image. And so we end up being the scapegoats. The leftists, the activists, the people who say what it is are the scapegoats. We're the problem because we're saying the reality. We are naming the abuse. We're naming the abusive dynamic and we're saying that something has to change. And then the response is, oh, well, you just hate everybody. You're angry. You're just, all you do is you complain about the Democrats. Well, you just try to beat them. Well, the Democrats do something for us. Okay. Can we we got to be real now. We got to be real. The question of well then, okay. So then what do we do? Baby, not the same thing. Not the same thing. You don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over. So find the new thing, but we're not doing the same thing.
It's really interesting to watch what is unfolding, and it is interesting to watch it from a place of realizing that both sides of government right now are operating towards the same purpose, which is silencing the everyday person. And if there's any type of takeaway that I want us to take away from that, it is that we have to understand that there are people who are sitting at the top in places of privilege that have access to money and power that are making decisions about our everyday lives that are impacting us. And that is not what that's supposed to look like. We are paying 30+% in taxes. Meanwhile, billionaires are paying 1%. That doesn't even make sense. Right? But our taxes are going to fund wars. Our taxes are going to fund genocides. Our taxes are not doing what they're supposed to do for us, which is make sure that we have a way to be able to live. So There's a lot, y'all, and I would be going down this pathway for a long, long time if I just continue. So I'm gonna just cut it off here to say I need us to tap in. I need us to tap in into what is going on, practicing that radical acceptance, and then I also need us to tap into what is it that I need to be doing within my own body, in my own spaces, in my own networks to make sure that I am preparing myself for the very rough times that we have ahead. I need you to get connected, whether that is getting connected to the archive, whether that is getting connected to your family and neighbors, whether that is getting plugged into a podcast source that allows you to be able to understand things. I need us to get connected so that we're not living on islands trying to figure out how to support ourselves and how to save ourselves when shit hits the fan even more than it does. Okay. I know this was all over the place, and I appreciate y'all going with me on all the different places because there's just a lot to process. It's just a lot to process right now. And I want to hold our hand while I say this. We got to do it. We got to do it. So if you're a part of the quote unquote 92% who has said to yourself, I'm tapping out, this ain't got nothing to do with me, you still have work to do. No, you're not out there at the protest on the front line. That's fine. You still got work to do because you're still going to have to live during this time. So that means we have to have community, we have to have connection. So what is the role that you are going to play in all of this? What skills do you have that you're able to contribute to the whole and to the community? What does that look like for you to start bartering with those who are nearby so that you don't have to rely solely on money? What are you doing to make sure that your nervous system is calm and supportive, and that you have an infrastructure of care that is allowing you to be able to land softly? What are you doing to have conversations with your children, with your loved ones, with your spouses, with your parents? What does that look like? And then how are you processing the grief that comes along with the realizations that everybody's not going to get it? Everybody's not going to get it. And your primary thing is to make sure that you are safe and that the people who understand are safe as well. So I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot. I don't say it like it's easy. And I'm sorry I didn't have a whole lot of sunshine and rainbows and things to give us today, but that's where we are right now. And, if I'm not going to do nothing, I'm going to keep it real. Okay. So today's final and closing thought is inspired by Asada Shakur. Not everyone fights the same way, but everyone has a responsibility to the struggle. I need you to find what your responsibility is in this fight. What does that look like for you? How are you showing up in this space? If that means that you need some support, I need you to come on and holler at me and discover your destiny. If that means that you are trying to build connections with people, I need you to tap into community. Come on down to the archive and start having these conversations, right? But what are you doing to make sure that you are holding your responsibility that you have within this collective fight that we are in, right? I do believe that we are going to be able to make it out of this as long as we do that together. What I don't want is for it to be too late and now you're scrambling trying to figure things out. So as you have time and capacity right now, I need you to be thinking about what that looks like, what that sounds like. Who are the people that are in your innermost circles? Make sure that you've exchanged information with them. Make sure that you have emergency contact information. Make sure that you're having intentional conversations about what you all are going to do when and if somebody shows up at your door, or when and if somebody shows up at your neighbor's door. What are you going to do? What is your role in all of this? I urge us to stay connected to our humanity and our empathy. One of the things they want us to do is to be willing to sacrifice others and to turn a blind eye to atrocities that are happening, because that makes it so much easier for their system to operate. So I want to urge you to stay connected to your humanity and to the humanity of other people so that we don't become like them. All right. Y'all, that's it. I got it all out. I don't know that it was in order, but those are the things that have been on my heart to share. We will be back next week with another episode of The Frolicking Truth. So you don't put syrup on your grilled cheese. Also is going to air tomorrow. So please tune in. I'm sure that Kalanda and I will have a lot to talk about with everything that has been happening. So that airs on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, and we do that show live, so you have the ability to contribute to the show and be there with us as we are processing all of the things. All right, so I love y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to The Frolicking Truth, where joy meets justice and our nervous systems get free. Please be sure to like, rate, and comment. Subscribe to the YouTube page, Minding My Black Ass Business, and follow me on all social platforms. Until next time.